Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Candice.
I'm Court, and we are super excited to be sharing with you today our coming out stories. We did not mean to say that in unison.
No. But we speak in unison often, so
it's like a thing.
Get over it.
Anyway, so yeah, we're going to be sharing our coming out stories today. We'll do a whole nother video another time on coming to terms with our sexuality, like really figuring out what that was for each of us, owning it, just for ourselves. But today's story starts mostly with coming out to our friends and family and what that process and journey was like. So before diving in, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to catch more videos like this, and definitely the little bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. It's a great sound effect. Any new videos dropping, because they come out
every Thursday.
Come
check it out.
Hell yeah. So do those two things, and now back to our story. You want to take it away?
Yeah, coming out. It all began when I was don't worry. I won't go into all the deets, spill all the tea.
Oh, we're spilling the tea today, you guys.
But when we were chatting, Court and I were chatting about this, it's like, our coming out story obviously is just woven in with our, like coming into our sexuality and all that. But because that is quite a backstory, we will share that in another video, so stay tuned for that.
Spoiler alert, we're not gay.
What? But we're women.
We're not lesbians.
And we're married.
That's so confusing. Another video.
So we got lots to dish, but today's video, I'll dive into my story. So I'll give you a little context around my sexuality so it flows, so you understand where I'm coming from, where I'm going. I did know from quite a young age that I was attracted to both genders. Definitely felt like a bit of a freak, and I didn't identify with being anything other than straight. But yeah, again, there's a whole backstory. But I'm gonna hit that gas pedal. And then when I was 20 years old, was actually the first time that, it was the very first time I came out to a family member. Most of my good friends already knew that I was, throughout, I would say like 18 to like my early 20s, I, used to make out with women often. Maybe I had some sexual experiences, again, for another time. But I never dated a woman. So I actually dated this particular woman in my 20s who really helped me to own my sexuality, to own, I was like, okay, there's no doubt about it. I don't just like making out with women or occasionally maybe hooking up with them. Like, I truly identify as being bisexual. That's what I identified with at the time. Now it's kind of like fluid, queer, pansexual. I don't know. I just don't really like labels, but I'm in that sphere. And so it was interesting. So when I was dating this woman, it was a short time, but I was really good friends with my brother, and I came out to him, and it was really easy. Like, he was really supportive and accepting, and it was actually really chill. And because of his response, his just love and, support, I just found that I was able to truly accept myself for the first time. It wasn't like I have bi tendencies. It was like, no, I am. This is how I am. I identified with that, and it was beautiful. But the thing is like, I still, interestingly enough, didn't really pursue women. I was just still mainly dated men and occasionally hooked up with women. Fast forward, another, oh my goodness, I don't know, 14 years. No, it was probably only like 7 or 8 years. And I met this one at a festival. And this is where our stories merge, because it was because of Courtney and I coming together that we ended up going public with our relationship. There's some stories and details we're going to tell you about our coming out. But yeah, it's just interesting because being that I didn't identify as being gay, that I never really had this, and mainly dated men. I never had this need to come out, right? Yeah, so bi-invisibility is a thing.
It's totally a thing.
Yeah.
Which will be another video as well. There's so much we could say on that.
Totally.
But yeah, that's where our stories meet up, which we'll go into in a minute. Now I'm going to go rewind to what I was doing during those years before I met her. Because as she said, like, our relationship really catapulted us out into the public. So I was a little bit different in that I didn't realize that I was anything but straight until like 25, 26. Which, there's some backstory to that. But when I started to realize, I was like, oh, this is a thing. Okay, awesome. And I was really excited about it. But just like Candice, I didn't feel the need to really come out publicly until there was like a reason to, which for me meant until I'm like dating someone seriously. Right. And even then, I still mostly just dated men. Same thing, like had some hookups and some dates, but like not any relationships. But I started to realize that I was really censoring myself online, that like in my everyday life, I would like go to queer events and whatever, but online, I'm like, family's online, old friends are online, like people that don't know me as like today onwards are online. I can't be who I am. And I would like share a funny story about like a date with a guy, but not with a girl. And I'm like, I feel like I'm hiding part of me. And I'm a very open book, you guys. Like that was a weird feeling. And I'm like, I need to do something about this because it's starting to affect me.
Any of our bi friends have ever felt that way? We'd love to hear it in the comments. Definitely felt very similar about that feeling of like holding back and not being able to express all of who you are.
Yeah, because it's like half of you can be expressed. So you're like, you start to become okay with like just that half being expressed until it's like not okay. And you're like, this feels bad or just negative or, whatever. So I decided I needed to come out to some of my close friends who weren't in the know. But more importantly, I needed to come out to my immediate family, specifically my mom in particular, because I felt like I was holding part of me back, and that was weird because she and I are close, but also because I realized if I did meet a woman, I didn't want any of my family, friends, whoever, to not take it as serious or legitimate as they did any of my relationships with men. I didn't want them to think it was just a phase or that like, oh, Courtney's just crazy doing her thing, like whatever. I wanted them to be like, oh, she met someone. Yeah. So I sat down, I came out to my mom. It was a total shock to her. She was like, but you're boy crazy. And I remember I was like, I'm kind of people crazy. Like, I don't know how to answer.
Accurate. If you know Courtney, you'll understand.
I mean, what can I say? So it was never met with non-acceptance. It was just met with a lot of surprise and like, okay, this is like a total left field thing, but like whatever. But even then, I like kept dating men for the most part, at least like in terms of a relationship. So it didn't become a thing until I met Candice, which was only it was not even or a year later. It was like a few months that I had to call my mom up and be like, remember that conversation we had? It's kind of becoming relevant. Yeah. And that was really when the coming out process started because it was like, oh, this is a thing. So
yeah, you should continue because that was like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess to give it a little bit more context. Yeah. So, I mean, things accelerated really quickly in our relationship.
Very
Courtney is American. I'm Canadian. We now live in California, but back then I was living in Canada and Courtney was living in America. And, we were having real serious conversations about like, well, if we know that this, like, we want to pursue this, like, without a doubt, we want to make it work. And so we were having these really serious conversations. So we knew that, like, the next step was for us to come out. And so that looked very different to you, if you want to talk about the post that the conversation with your mom first.
So I started coming out like more and more with my mom, basically, not just, coming out, but being like, this is a serious thing. This is like going to be my future, and that became a very different conversation. Yeah. And it was like, whoa, what,
it's not a phase. Mom.
Yeah, exactly. And not a phase, but this isn't just like a casual dating, like I'm going to marry this person. Yeah. And that was like,
what?
Whoa.
You just met her.
Yeah. A, yes. And B, like, no one ever thought I would settle down. Like, not really anyway. So it was like, oh shit, like what's going on? So yeah, my mom really wanted me to do a public coming out post because there started to be like, well, what will the family think? Or there's going to be a lot of questions or a lot of confusion because like you've been putting all these photos of men you've dated your entire life on Facebook. And now suddenly there's photos of a girl, like what's going on? And, I really resisted publicly coming out at first because I just felt like it's a burden queer people shouldn't have to do. And while I do still agree with that, I also was like, you know what? If this can help like teach and educate people in my circle, I would be remiss not to do that. Especially because at the time I was giving gay rights activism walking tours. I was literally teaching people about queer history, queer culture. Like I have a chance to have them be like, oh, I know someone who's queer, which really helps just, you know, with a lot of things. So I did a big public coming out post. But Candice was not out yet, so I didn't tag her, put a photo. I just put at the very end, like, I have a really cute girlfriend now.
Yeah.
And left it at that.
Yeah. And that post definitely, I mean, it was like, it was so sweet, first and foremost, obviously. And, but I felt like, you know, it's my turn, you know, and she had already come out to her mom, and I was so scared of coming out to my father. And I don't know why, because my dad's always been super loving and supporting and accepting of who I am. But you just never know. And I'm grateful that, you know, I have a stepsister that is out. And I think that has really helped him because my dad's a small town, you know, conservative farmer, you know, like he's not a farmer now. I mean, he grew up in a farm town rather. But yeah, so anyways, I just knew that it was time, and I had the conversation over the phone with him, and he was nothing but loving and supporting and caring and accepting and all the things. And it was so sweet because he ended up driving 8 hours from my hometown in Summerland, BC, all the way to Calgary, Alberta in Canada. And just so that he could get a real better sense of where I'm at. And you know, so that was just, and to also get to know more about Courtney, like he was genuinely interested and
also because she dropped the bombshell that she would be moving onto a school bus with me at the same time.
I'm telling you, when I say our relationship accelerated or was like
accelerated.
Yeah, it really truly was. Is still like, so I don't think we
Papa ever Bear had a lot to take in one go. At least I eased my mom into it.
No. So here, Dad, I'm giving you the whole deal. But yeah, so that was a lot. But he was still so amazing. And then that just really, I felt, you know, I've always felt so loved by my father, but I felt so seen by him. And more so because I allowed myself to fully express all of who I am, and it didn't feel like I had to hide anything. And because of that acceptance, it was just really beautiful. And very shortly after, I ended up deciding, without talking to Courtney, that I was going to change my relationship status on Facebook. Now, hear me out. Because back in the day, I don't know, it had been a while since I was in a serious, like, you know, when it's official, it's not official until it's Facebook official. It had been a while since I was in an official Facebook relationship. But what I remember is that you would have to get somebody to approve the relationship status, like whoever you're in a relationship with is supposed to approve the post before it becomes public. Well, that's not a thing. That definitely, I mean, maybe it is now, but it was not when I tagged Courtney in a relationship. And I thought I was going to have a moment or an opportunity to chat with her and say, yo, so I'm ready to come out to, you know, what do you think? I changed this, or we can change it if you want. But it was like, oh shit, it went through. And I was like, I could delete it or just leave it. I was like, and it took, guys, just so you know, this wasn't just like, I'm just going to do this thing. Like, it took me a while to get the balls to do this, you know what I mean? Because I was like, even though my good friends knew and my immediate family, like my extended family and friends, I had no idea how they were going to judge me, if they were going to accept me. I had no idea. I was so nervous. yeah. So anyways, Courtney woke up.
Yeah, I woke up to a changed relationship status and like 40 comments underneath.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, we're out. Everyone knows now. Like, we're doing the thing.
We're doing the thing. And something beautiful happened though. Like, I mean, like Courtney said, there was just an outpour of love. And I just felt, again, just really just like accepted and supported. And I was just really, it was beautiful. It really was so beautiful. And I will say that not everybody was supportive. Not everybody was accepting. You know, my mom still is, you know, well, actually, she's come a long way. We've been together almost 5 years. And she now refers to Courtney as my partner. And it took a long time. She used to be my friend.
I was the friend
she
for
was
a while.
the friend. But, you know, and then there was other family members that would go and they would talk, like send messages to my father instead of coming to the source. But I get it. Like, you got to do what you feel comfortable in, you know, like, yeah. So everybody has their own process, right?
Totally. That was my mom's reason as well for why she kind of wanted me to put that post up. Same thing of like, but if family has questions, and I'm like, they can come ask me. I don't know. But yeah,
I'm not always comfortable doing
totally.
That, so.
And I don't think I mentioned before, but on my post, same thing, outpouring of love. People were so excited. They were like, we can't wait to know who your girlfriend is. Like, just really, really excited. And actually it was some of my like 70-plus-year-old great aunts who are like, this is great. And I'm so like, sweet. Okay, see, family, we're good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just like the best thing we could do is for us was to come out.
Yeah.
Because it just is like this weight off your shoulders. It's
yeah.
like, this is who I am, all of me.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It was kind of that same feeling with my father, is like finally just allowing myself to be all of who I am, but doing that on like a larger scale was just like very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's like very exposed, but also it felt super healing. There's something about that, you know, especially, I mean, that's been basically my whole life, that it was like a secret, you know, it was in the closet for, you know, I'll talk about that another time, but for a very large chunk, and didn't even allow myself to embrace that part of myself. And so, you know, it was a journey, and I mean, like Courtney and I said, I mean, we're always constantly, well, I guess we didn't say, but I mean, it is a thing that we're always constantly having to come out.
Yes.
And that's just part of being a queer couple, you know. It was really difficult when we were engaged.
Oh
and
my
I would
God.
refer to her as my fiance, and it would be like, oh, so how is he doing or whatever, and you're like, actually he's a she, and you know,
all the time. I would be like, we were long distance, and be like, oh yeah, my fiance lives in Canada, and they're like, oh, what's he do? And I'm like, she. And it's just like the awkward look on people's faces. They'd either be like, oh, okay, or they'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and I'm like, it's cool, but
an opportunity again for people hopefully to learn, but I mean, even now it's like, at least I can refer to Courtney as my wife, which is, I love doing, but it's still, you're coming out, and I still find myself like, my guard will go up, because I know as soon as I out myself, some people will be like, oh, you know, and then like other people will just be super cool about it, but either way, you just don't know how people are going to react. And we're just very fortunate to live where we are and to have, you know, the rights that we do, even though we're still fighting for them. And, you know, we definitely have come a long way, especially in, you know, in relation to the rest of the world.
Yeah, and we know that not everyone, including in the U.S. and Canada, for lots of reasons, doesn't feel comfortable coming out, doesn't feel safe coming out.
For sure.
And we totally honor that experience as well. You know, if you can't come out or don't want to for whatever reason, don't ever feel pressured to.
Right.
I think especially with like gay pride and everything, it's great, but I think it can also sometimes make that pressure of like, well, then I need to come out too. And, you know, your experience is your experience. And if you're struggling with that, you're always welcome to reach out to us. We've both had our own struggles. If you want to come out to someone and you want it to be secret, we can be those people for you. We won't out you to anyone else.
Hold that space for you.
So, you know, just sending our love to everyone on whatever part of the journey you're on, and, you know, extra special love to our bi-pan queer fam rhymes, who maybe have dealt with some of the bi-invisibility, like should I come out, should I not, doing that dance, because we both know it very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our story.
That's our story. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah. And that bell. Ding, ding. You want to get to the next video. New video drops every Thursday.
And on that note, we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.